Well, good morning. Going to be trying to make you another video today. Today's challenge is to show you how to properly check the oil in your HWH hydraulic system. How to check it, not contaminate it at the same time, because that can be tricky. I also want to address the ability to change the oil completely. What got me on this journey is a few months back I replaced this tank assembly for a fellow down in Tampa, and in doing so, after I replaced it, put a new system on, because his symptom was he was losing power. The jacks had no power to lift up the RV. Another symptom he had is because he had a stormwater level floor. When the room would come out and would drop down this ramp, it didn't have enough pressure to bring the room back in. So it was like 6 months his room was stuck out. By the time he did some troubleshooting, he replaced a shuttle valve. That didn't take care of it. Then he gave me a call. We hooked up a pressure gauge like you see back there, put a gauge on it and determined he had low pressure. Ordered a whole new pump and tank assembly. Now they're like $1,300. So I replaced it for him. All is good. Everything works perfect now. But after I tore into his to find out why it failed, and here's his old pump, and after I tore into it, and I made a video on it, dissecting all this and showing why it failed, but the shaft itself was wore out, and that's what caused it to lose pressure. And it wore out due to contaminated oil. This shaft has play in it. But the reason it wore out is, well, let me show you. See how bad this is. Let's get a light on it. See how nasty that is? Milky. So, and of course, here's where I poured it out. Look at the sample. So this is his oil, and that's new oil. So what would you rather have in your RV? So I got to thinking, how many people are driving around right now with nasty oil in this tank and they have no idea that it's that way? And also, all the ways this gets contaminated is just, through humidity and moisture in the air, because this is a vented cap. So every time you let the jacks down, it draws humid moist air into the tank. Then to cool the night, it'll condense, sweat, a few droplets of water will fall, and it just keeps building up over time, and you end up with nasty oil like that. Now his tank assembly was mounted just behind the front bumper of the RV, so that's probably one of the worst places you could mount one of these things when you're in a big rainstorm and all that road debris and water's pouring all over everything. And ours is not much better. It's back in this hole here, right behind the front tire, and it gets real nasty and stuff too, all around the where you check the oil. That's something that's critical. You got to be careful about cleaning this before you remove the dipstick. You got to make sure everything is clean. So I've got some tools here. I think I'm going to take that'll. I got some tools gathered up here. I think all we need. We've got some. I went ahead and got 2 gallons of transmission oil, because I'm pretty sure it's going to take over a gallon. And I got me some spray contact cleaner, a nice clean funnel. Got me some clear vinyl tubing, so I'll explain that further too. So first step is, for me now, normally you'd think, okay, we'll just reach in there and unscrew the cap. Let me get a light on this thing. But now if you do that, can you see the cap? Yeah, you see the cap right there. Now if you just reach in there with your hand and unscrew it to check oil, you're going to knock a bunch of dirt and crud in there. So we don't want to do that. So for my application, I actually have to open up the room, and so I can crawl in there and clean everything really well first. So I guess that's my first step. So let me do some prepping for this procedure. I got to open up the slide room, get things clean, get the cap removed. So let me get my tools rearranged. Let me get the slide room opened up, and where I can crawl in there and get to working. All right, you see I'm underneath the RV here, my little cubby hole. And if you can see those threads back there, that's my dipstick. Focus. Kind of hard to focus. Oh, there it is. Good close-up shot. And don't take me some contact cleaner. You want to use something here that's like a mass airflow cleaner or electronic cleaner, something that's safe for plastics. Because you be careful, you don't be spraying starting fluid and stuff like that. Something that may harm or melt some of this plastic stuff. But let's see, we'll get my camera back there. All right. So if we can get in there like this. Blast that really good. So that way everything's clean and dry. All the dirt and grit is blown away. So you want to do that before you go taking the cap loose, and try to get from the top side also. Spray it really well. Now I've got everything good and clean, I can reach in here and take this out. And then now there's a tip for you. When you go to put this back in, you may be very careful. If you just go down there, if you can't see what you're doing, you're liable to hit the top of the tank where you got dirt and grit. You're going to pick up dirt and grit before you put it back in the hole. So you want to carefully have a mirror, have something, so when you go back down in there that you can see, you can line it up so you put it directly in the hole and you don't miss it. Because it's very important to keep all the dirt and crud out of here. Of course, like at this moment, you think, oh, I can check the oil now, but no, I can't, because remember, I got the room out. Anytime a room is out or the jacks are down, the oil level drops. So anytime you check your oil is when all the jacks are up, all the rooms are in, and it's usually, well, you can see it's pretty close, probably about an inch from the top. So it holds quite a bit of oil. Another thing, it's careful. You got to be careful about when we go to fill it back up. So I'm going to try to carefully measure how much comes out, so I can put that exact amount back in so I don't overfill it. I know sometimes people will make the mistake. They'll be working on something like this. They have a slide, they have the room open, they replace a line, they top it up with oil, and then they don't realize once they bring the slide in, it's going to way overfill it, and you're going to have oil spray everywhere. It's going to come out this vent cap. Something else to check while we're under here, let me clean this off first before I do my test. So wipe it off really good, and you got two little holes here. That's your vents, and it comes up through the cap. But if you plug one off with one finger, then you can blow on the other side and make sure it's vented. As long as it's vented, you're good to go. Don't taste good though. So that's one quick test you can do, because what can happen if this gets plugged up, you'll create what you call cavitation. So cavitation is, so whenever the jacks go down, the pump engages, it's going to draw oil out of the tank. As the oil level drops, air has to be replaced. If that cap is not venting, you'll have cavitation, which is air bubbles gets in there to the pump, can cause damage to the pump. You don't want any very little cavitation. If at all, you're going to avoid it. Another problem that a plug vent cap can cause is slow jack retraction times. Because remember, as those jacks are coming up, it's dumping all that oil back into the tank, and that oil level's raising up kind of quick, and all that air is going to be pushed out. So if this vent is plugged up, the oil can't get out, and that's going to make the jacks retract very slowly. Unlike the rooms are forced back in under pressure, but the jacks themselves, only thing that brings the oil back here is the spring pressure. It slowly brings up the jacks and dumps it back into the tank. All right, let's get this room back in. Whoops. I'm about to squish a lot. I better check that. Yeah, that was close. I almost paid some stupid tax on that one. Let's get this in now. All right, got that part done. Now let's open up this lid, see what we can see. I wanted to look at a few notes I'd made and make sure I didn't miss anything. Of course, I've always addressed already, before we check oil or do anything, make sure all the jacks are up, all the rooms are in, so you don't get a false reading. Then also, they tell you right in the book here, as far as oil, when it left the factory, evidently it had like a clear hydraulic oil in it, just so it don't leave a stain. But it is completely safe to use Dextron automatic transmission fluid. So that's what we bought right there. What else did I want to do? Oh, I was discussing earlier about dropping debris into the tank. Remember, we don't have any filter. Only filter we have is this little screen mesh, and I don't know how much it's going to filter out if you drop a bunch of crud down in there. So I wanted to address that. And something else I wanted to address is, they'll tell you if you need to manually, if you burn up a solenoid, you need to manually loosen one up to allow the jacks to retract. To use this as a tool. Well, don't do that. That's just such a silly idea. You see it's got that 1/4-inch nut driver in it. Well, if you put that on that solenoid, it's going to have all kinds of dirt and crud already packed on it. So you're going to pack that dirt and crud into that nut, then turn around and put it back in the reservoir, and that dirt and crud is going to get into your tank and contaminate your oil. So don't use that. All you need is just a 1/4-inch socket nut driver. Everybody should have one anyways. So that's wanted to bring that up as a precautionary tale. Okay, address a little bit more about cavitation. You know, if you have a plug vent or water in the oil, you don't have good lubrication because it's a tiny little pump. It's amazing. This can give us almost 4,000 psi, as small as that pump is. But if you get air in the system, then you've got to have lubrication. You need a film of oil between these teeth and the walls of this pump constantly. There's a good illustration right here. As the oil comes in and it gets forced around and then pushed onto the cylinders under high pressure. So that's something you'd be, even if same scenario, if you ran low on oil, you'd get cavitation, could damage the pump, water in the oil, anything like that. We want to avoid that. Oh yeah, this little illustration I thought was cool, showing the tank. Like when we're full, and then when you go to lower the jacks, how the oil level drops. Well, then it's at that time it's pulling all that air. Like you're down in Florida and all that high humidity, you're sucking all that humid air into this tank. And then in the nighttime, when everything gets cooled off, cooler temperatures, that's when we start getting condensation, and that's what we want to. And the only way to get rid of it is to pump it out. And one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to condensation, because it's really surprising to me how HWH has just no recommendation whatsoever about when to change oil, just only when it becomes contaminated. I just want to bring up the fact, like even our own end generators, like most all these RVs have, these gas-powered generators, they'll tell you in the manual, even if you don't start the generator all year long, they still want you to change that oil annually because it's just sitting there. And what was the other with Spartan chassis manufacturers to build the big diesel pushers. They have the their differentials on those diesel pushers. They want that oil changed every 12 months. Regardless of the mileage used, because once again you got a big container that's a lot of empty air. It doesn't get very hot, so it can't flash off the water like a car engine would. But the condensation will build up over time, so that's why they want you to drain that oil every year out of that differential. I made a video on that years ago called the forgotten oil change, because that's something about the differentials they kind of get forgotten about. Quick story: a friend of mine had a diesel pusher. His differential, he only changed his oil at, well, actually, let me back up. His differential failed at 90,000 miles. I asked him how often he changed the oil. Well, he changed it at 50,000, and he was going to change it at 100,000, but it didn't make it. And when it went out, it was a very, very expensive job to repair. That's something you don't want to lose, is differential. Okay, I got the slide room all the way back in. Jacks are all up. Everything's nice and clean. Reach in here, get my drive this way. Get that dipstick out of there. Get a hold of it. But I know everything's good and clean, so I'm not knocking any crud in anything. All right. Now our little trick. We're going to put this hose in here. Well, I don't want to get nothing dirty. Hang on, let me get two hands on this for a second. See if you can see what I've done here. We get an angle of it. Where we at? There we go. See, I've got the hose in there. I'm going to start siphoning on it because we are below the tank. Once it gets going, because you want to do this kind of warm weather. Cold weather is going to be a little bit harder. All right, let me get down here on the ground closer. All right, start sucking on this, and hopefully I don't get a mouthful, but once I get it over the top, we should be good to go. I can see I'm already going to get a mouthful. Oh well, I'll just have to deal with it. See, it's a little wet already. Come on, baby. Oh no. No, I was close. Didn't quite make it, did I? Let's see, it's going back. All right. I failed at my first attempt. All right, let me regroup. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come back around here so I can get more drop on my hose. Let me reposition this hose. We'll attempt it again. All right, here we go. Got a lot better drop now. Now let me get closer to the ground. Get lower. Now if we see if we can't get a good draw. It's been a while since I've siphoned gas, or don't think I've ever siphoned oil, but I have siphoned gas in my day. Try it again. Okay. There she's going. Might take a little while, but I'm in no hurry. Let's hit that drain, and I'm gonna babysit the hose, make sure it stays in the bottom of the tank, so make sure I get all this out. I think it's done. I'm seeing bubbles. It took a while, a good 15-20 minutes, but I'm gonna make sure to get every last drop I can out of it. Well, looks like she's all done now. Just a few more drops draining out of it. All right, now let's see how much oil is actually left in the tank. Well, I found me a dipstick, a supply line, I think, for a toilet. And of course, it's brand new. I keep these handy. And if you can see it, there's only about a 1/4 inch was left in the tank. So I did really well. So I got siphoned just about every drop out of it. So really pleased with that. Now I just got to figure out a way to get about 1.5 gallons of this back in there. Okay, so I did a comparison. This is oil that just came out, which is like 10 years old. Okay, there's the one that came out of the one that's out of Tampa, had a water contamination. That came out of ours just now, and that's new oil. So you can see it is a little darker. So I wouldn't call it really bad, but there is a difference. Oh, I'm glad I changed it, and it was easy enough to do. And now I made another video, so you guys know how to do it too. So I guess, yep, just need to reassemble and get this oil topped back up. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have bought gallon jugs. I should have bought quarts, because that's going to be a booger. There's no way I'm going to get no gallon jug in there, I don't think. That's another problem to overcome. Let me figure that out. Okay, so you may be wondering what, if anything, I found. So after I let it sit for a while and I drained it out, I did get some specks of stuff. There's a few specks. Not too much, but just wanted to show you that so you have something to compare to on yours. Well, this is a really nice funnel. These are really common. You see them everywhere. It's just right for what we're doing here to fit down in that small hole in that tank. So let me get this in position and see how I'm going to get over 1 gallon of oil shoved through it. All right, I got my oil in, got it right on the money, got it right here to this mark. So it took me 3 tries to get it in. First of all, I dumped 1 whole gallon in it. And then I dumped almost, where'd Mother Jug go? So it took about 1.5 gallons. I got about 2 quarts left. So I put about 1 quart in and then checked it again. I seen it was just getting on the dipstick, put in about another quart, got it dialed in just right. So now we've got that finished. Let me show you how I did it. That may help. I was able to use the gallon jugs. Let me show you my trick. All right, I'll see if I can show you how I did this with one hand. Of course, leave the lid on, of course. Get your gallon jug in there. Once you get it in there, stand it up, take the lid off. Shine you a good bright light behind the funnel, because it'll quickly fill up. So once I did that, I have enough room. I can tilt it just like that, and it worked out just fine. And you see how I got it here. It's tight, but it works. And so that way, but watch your funnel, because it'll quickly fill up. You don't want to overflow it. Just kind of get a nice steady stream. Put in 1 full gallon, and then about 2 more quarts. Should get you dialed in just right. Another little experiment I did, I thought it was interesting. Imagine this is our reservoir, and I just poured some water in it, let it settle for a couple hours. Look where all the water goes, right to the bottom. So if that's our reservoir, and of course this is our small little pump, and that thing turns on, guess what gets sucked up first? The water. Because that little screen goes right to the bottom. So something to keep in mind. Another reason why we want to keep this oil changed. Well, I wanted to add something here at this point. You may or may not notice when I was siphoning out that oil, it looked like brand new. Well, in fact it was. I'd lost some footage, so I had to redo part of the video. This is my original oil that I drained out. See how dark it is? But you'll notice when I was siphoning it out, look, there you go. It looked like brand new oil, because actually in truth that was brand new oil, but I had to reshoot that section of the video so I could get it. But anyways, one reason why my oil didn't look really bad, even though it's been 10 years since I changed it, but I did have 2 failures since then where I had replenished it. One time I had a hose to blow, so I lost some oil there after I replaced a hose, then I had to replenish the oil I lost. Another thing is I blew an O-ring, and I suggest everybody check these check valves across the top. Ours has 4 of them on there, but they're prone to get loose. And when they do, you blow an O-ring that pumps oil all over the place, makes a mess. And I got a video on how to do that and what O-rings you need. It's under my HWH playlist on my channel, along with a lot of HWH stuff. Also, I was going to point out to you, I was surprised how hard it was to locate 3/8 inside diameter vinyl, clear vinyl tubing. I went to 3 places in our local town before I found any. So I thought, I looked on Amazon, you can get 10 foot for $6.88. For our application, 4 foot is plenty, but for $6, have it delivered is pretty cheap. I want to suggest keeping this funnel. I'll have a link to it along with the vinyl tubing and the transmission fluid, because this is just the right size to fit in that hole to add fluid to it. So if you don't have one with you and you blow a line, you got to do a quick repair. It's going to be really difficult to get oil down into the reservoir. So I would suggest for 98 cents, get you one of those and keep it on the RV with you. And then here is the transmission fluid I use, the Valvoline. So I'll put a link to all 3 of these items below the video. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Back to the show. Okay, another helpful tip for you. So when I'm putting that dipstick in there to check, I'm going blind. I can't see anything what I'm doing. And remember, we got to be careful about getting any dirt or anything there. So I carefully reach down there, and then when I get my hand, I can feel the threads. And once I feel where the threads are, then I just drop it right in there. And then be easy, because these things are easily cross-threaded. So kind of go backward. If you don't feel right, go back till you feel the first click of a thread, and then get her down in there. It's because they are easily cross-threaded, because it's just plastic. There you go. Another tip. What else we have to do? I'm going to get my dipstick in there. I'm going to do a final pressure test, make sure everything's working good. Okay, so one last test I want to do is make sure my pressures are back where they need to be. So I'm going to jump these back together, force the pump on. I'll put the camera in here. So we're looking for 3,500 psi. That's our spec. So let's see here. There we go. So we're right on the money. Everything's good to go. So I'll just take my little jumper wires, unplug those, and I think this project is over with. Hope you find this helpful, and maybe you can check your oil and see if it looks like it's contaminated any at all. Heck, your oil may be 20 years old, maybe it's never been changed. And get it changed out, get some fresh oil in there, and get you some longer life out of these things. Remember, those pumps now are like $1,300. And I'm hoping we can find a source just for the pump. But as of at the moment, you have to buy the whole assembly, the pump, the motor, and the tank. So it's something we need to avoid. Thanks for watching again. Have a blessed day. See you. Bye.